Investigators believe the London terror attacker used a popular app moments before going on a rampage, killing 4 and injuring dozens more.
You'll remember the suspect was killed by police. Officials say Khalid Moussaoud sent a message through WhatsApp. It's unknown what was said or who it was sent to, since the app is designed to encrypt messages. They call it security by default.
So we have attorney Rocco Cipparone, who's here to help us understand the kind of legal path investigators will need to take in regard to these privacy issues. So basically, Rocco, it seems as if they want this information so they can see what he was saying before he did the attack, but it's not there?
Correct. As I understand it, WhatsApp does not store the data at all. It's end-to-end encryption, which means when it leaves your phone, it's encrypted, and when it arrives at the other phone, it's encrypted, and there's no decryption that happens at WhatsApp. Once it's gone, it's gone. They don't keep it. So law enforcement can't get what doesn't exist.
And to refresh people, for a lot of people who may not know what WhatsApp is, it's a popular messaging app. A lot of people use it when they travel overseas because standard messaging rates, they do not apply. And you can message people and go back and forth. And like you said, I guess it's encrypted. It disappears after a while. Yeah,
there's a lot of reasons people have legitimate uses for encryption technology. For example, I'm a lawyer, right? There are communications that I don't want prying eyes to see that are privileged. Corporate communications, they're concerned about corporate espionage. So there are a lot of reasons and legitimate uses for this technology, including the ones you mentioned. So, it's a tension. Law enforcement wants the information, and we understand that. But as individuals, we want some privacy. There's a bill in the House today, right, to loosen up restrictions on internet service providers to sell our data, our browsing history, and there's, privacy backlash to that.
If some of these messages weren't encrypted, how easy would it be to obtain this information? Are companies legally obligated?
They're legally obligated if they receive a subpoena. That happens every day in law enforcement. Grand jury subpoenas are issued for this kind of data. If the company has it, then they're obligated to provide it. If they don't store it, you can't provide what you don't have.
So in this case, if they were to provide this, if they're saying in the future they want to make some changes, WhatsApp would have to change the way their app is so that they could have that information to turn over?
They'd either have to change the way their app works and store the data, which I think is going to be very difficult for the government to accomplish, to require them to do that, because now we're intruding on the way they do business, or they'd have to provide a backdoor decryption methodology to law enforcement, but that would weaken the technology and weaken the selling point of their app.
And this is really interesting because it kind of brings up the discussion that happened after the San Bernardino attack.
Right.
Because with that, it was with Apple, and it was some things that were going on there, and they were saying, we don't want to, they had the information, but they didn't want to turn it over.
Right. It wasn't just the information. The government was, the FBI in that case was asking Apple to crack the code for them to physically do something. And so it's difficult to compel a company, a private company, to engage in a technique or do something affirmative. But they did have the data, and there is a difference there. If they possess it, it's a little easier to get it.
Where do we stand on the line, especially as an attorney? Attorneys moving forward, when you fight for free speech and privacy, how far do you go in protecting that?
It's a really tough balance, right? As a society, we want to be able to have law enforcement get this kind of information, both proactively for future investigations or to solve a case or to prosecute everybody involved. But it's also a balance in striking. If it gets too intrusive, then it encroaches on all of our right to privacy, even when we want to use these apps for legitimate purposes. So it's a really difficult balance. Technology's always been ahead of law enforcement. They play catch up, but then there's new technology that gets ahead of them again, and it's just a cat and mouse game that continues.
And it certainly is, because British lawmakers, they've recently introduced some legislation where they're trying to get Facebook, Google, and Twitter to do more when it comes to stopping these things. Because let's face it, when they're spreading information, when things are going on, a lot of times it happens on social media. And lawmakers, they're saying that, I guess, these companies are not doing enough to stop it?
And that's the problem. I mean, as users, right, there are certain things we want to keep private. Our online browsing history, our communications, maybe photographs we send as consenting adults. I don't engage in that myself, but I'm just saying some people want to, protect that stuff. And the company's interest is in having users, right? So if users start to shy away because they're afraid that their data will be out there, not just to law enforcement, but to the world, which can happen, I think that's a problem, and that's the tension.
This always makes me think of when it comes to flagging information. Like, we all know when we're scrolling on Facebook, if someone has something inappropriate, you can flag it. But I think some people are saying, well, it takes too long to take it down, even if it is hateful or inappropriate.
Yeah, and again, that's a tension, right? These things are controlled by robots. They're automated a lot of times. So that's something, I think, where the companies can improve their technology and improve that process. But really, this is about law enforcement getting access to things, not just things that people find offensive. This is for, them to advance their investigations and get, information.
Where do you see us headed? What road are we driving down here? Do you think more companies will be legally obligated to fight terrorism
Well, it's...
when it comes to some technology?
You know, we can't conscript companies to engage in law enforcement activities, but I do think that some of the regulations that are being passed, some of the laws that are being passed, are geared at having companies be more law enforcement friendly and balancing those privacy interests as subservient to law enforcement interests. That's a tough balance, and it's going to be an ongoing legal debate. I don't think it's going to end anytime soon.
It certainly will be. Well, we want to let you know that we reached out to WhatsApp and its parent company, Facebook, for comment, but we have not received a response. Thank you so much, Rocco.
Thanks. Good to see you guys.
Good to see you.